I'm Bela Erekson, that's Bela, B-E-L-A with one L, and Erekson, E-R-E. Well, you know what, it's a pseudo-Scandinavian mess. Anyway, I am 5'2.5", Michigan-born, Colorado-raised, a BYU student, and a news media major hopeful. Today I just want to share a couple of stories that explain my passion for communication and why I'm thinking of going into this major. The first story that I have to share involves when I was a toddler. At the ripe old age of 2, I was whisked away to the beautiful city of lights, Paris, France. I was accompanied by 2 very good travel guides, aka my parents, and they have relayed to me the following anecdote from that visit. According to the story, we were at a tiny playground close to the Bon Marché in Paris, and my parents watched me as I approached 2 local children playing on this playground. From a distance, they saw me interacting with these 2 kids for a period of several minutes, and they watched, wondering what was going on. When I reported back to my parents, they asked me what had been going on, and I declared confidently, I was speaking the French words, and they were speaking the French words. I very much doubt that this had been a miraculous moment where I had actually been speaking French, but what I learned from it is that at that point in my life, it was more important to me to have interesting and fun dialogue with someone than to be held back by any kind of language barrier. I understand that when we're children, this is a lot easier, but as we grow older, there are inhibitions and insecurities that creep in that make it more difficult for us to want to be bold and persistent in pursuing communication with people who are different from us. I'm very lucky that I had someone enter my life who was able to help me with some of these insecurities. My little brother Alma entered the world 4 years after I did, and he was diagnosed with autism soon after his prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome. He was nonverbal for the first several years of his life, and to a 5-year-old who had just graduated babbling, that wasn't really that important when it came to having a best friend. And Alma and I had different ways of communicating. One method I initiated was that I would click to him and see if he'd click back. This could go on for hours, but something that I loved was that sometimes it wasn't me who was initiating the conversation, but Alma. I remember one particular time at the park when he held his elbow out expectantly towards me and watched me out of the corner of his eye. After several periods of trial and error, I figured out what he wanted me to do was push his elbow like a button and make a crashing noise. After which he would gleefully whoop and he would take off running in circles around the park. I'm very grateful to my brother for reminding me to stay persistent and unembarrassed in communication when pursuing interaction with others. He also opened a window for me to understand a little better the life of somebody who might be considered one of the voiceless. This value proved crucial during my missionary service in Tahiti, which is where my final anecdote will take place. I was a brand new missionary sitting in the open-air vestibule of an older woman's house. The concrete floor was cool under my politely bare feet, which helped me to stay awake and alert against the drowsy and humid December heat. This woman wore a beautiful red hibiscus flower tucked into the left ear behind a heavy cascade of white hair. My companion had just introduced us, and from the lull in the conversation, I could tell that it was my turn to say something. I hesitated. French was my stronger language, but this woman had clearly been raised speaking the native Tahitian tongue. I decided I owed it to her to speak her language and not just the language of colonization, so I thought of a safe phrase and I opened my mouth and I said, Mami emen henhe to ata, which means, your smile is beautiful. There was an unexpectedly long pause and I worried that I had said something wrong or offensive, but suddenly a slight grin began to spread across Mommy's face and she began to laugh out loud. I had no idea what I had just said, so I laughed right along with her. My companion informed me later that I hadn't said anything offensive, but I had simply said that instead of her smile being beautiful, I confidently thought that my own smile was beautiful. So, what does this set of 3 seemingly unrelated experiences have to do with journalism? I actually see each of these experiences as good reminders that even today, we let things like language barriers, socioeconomic divisions, and even lack of public interest get in our way when it comes to communicating important and reliable information. But I see journalism as a way of confronting these challenges. and I think that my unique set of skills as a storyteller will be helpful in furthering this cause. I currently speak 3 languages fluently, and I am working on a 4th, and I have had professional experience as a televised interviewer. I see journalism as one of the most important ways of making truth accessible to people of all backgrounds, and I'm excited to be a part of this field. Thank you so much for your consideration.